Hello and welcome to a car review. As you'll notice from my face, I am not Ciro from Siena, I am Ashley from Oldfield. Ciro is on leave, so I've decided to take his place for a little while and do some car reviews, and I've picked a really interesting one to start with, which is the Porsche Taycan. Now, after some extensive Googling last night, I found out that the word Taycan is actually an Australian cricketing term for caught behind. So often you'll hear Australian commentators, when someone is caught behind, they shout, "Oh, Taycan!" That's where this name comes from. It doesn't, and that's a horrible cricketing joke. I expect crickets in the comments. Cool, well anyway, let's do a car review instead of jokes. Porsche Taycan rear-wheel drive review coming up. Okay, now let's do some actual driving of the Porsche. Got quite a nice road ahead of us, so we'll move things around here. Drive modes can be changed via the touch screen. Let's go for Sport. The chassis mode has a choice of Normal, Sport and Sport Plus, so we'll go to Sport Plus. Traction control, up here, just hold the button down. And PSM switched off, Porsche Stability Management. Now, there is no engine sound in here, but they do give you this electronic sports sound option, which is meant to make it sound like a bit of a spacecraft. It makes like a whoop sound, and then when you brake it goes whoo. Oh, there's that sound. Whoop. I'm in a Star Wars pod racer. This is nuts. Whoop. It's silly. Let's take some corners. So we've got the optional 20-inch wheels on here, which come in interestingly with 45 profiles on the front and 40 at the back. That's a lot of tire for a sports car, but also helps it ride amazingly well. Sure, it's actually a nice turn-in. Not having the extra motor and battery pack at the front means this is about 100 kgs lighter than the 4S version, but still 2.1 tons, which is actually insane. 2.1 tons. It's weird when you turn corners and all you hear is tire squeal. There's no engine sound to go with it, but it has tremendous front end bite. Steering's really good too, guys, I've got to say. Steering is impressive. Because there's not that initial kick of turbo torque, it's actually really good out of corners. You get a lot more balance and a lot more poise. It doesn't try to spike the rear tires or kick them out. So it's very, very balanced driving. It has regen braking, and Porsche says if you brake from 200 kilometers an hour down to 0, you will regen 4 kilometers of range. It's quite impressive. Porsche calls it class leading. So, all right, bends, I found some bends. Oof. Definitely feels heavy, but remarkably great turn-in from the front end. Right, so the Taycan, it's rear-wheel drive only, and it's a base model according to Porsche. It costs 2.2 million rands at base, but you do have the option of 2 battery packs. You can have the entry one, which is 74 kilowatt hours, or this one, which has an optional battery pack of 96 kilowatt hours, which levels the 2 batteries on top of each other, and you get more power. So you can either have 300 kilowatts or 350 kilowatts in this one. Still, they both accelerate the same to 5.4 seconds, which actually makes it one of Porsche's slowest accelerating cars. But that's not necessarily what it's about. With the extra battery pack, you do get a ton of range, which is like 450 kilometers, which out of a performance car is probably more than you're going to get out of the equivalent petrol-powered car. So range is certainly not an issue with the Porsche Taycan. Obviously, the range is dependent on how fast you go, what you're charging, what's on, that sort of stuff. But the same with a petrol car. The more you floor it, the more battery you use. Now, the cool thing about the Taycan is that it can take a 250 kilowatt charge. I think actually 280 kilowatts, which means that you can go to like 0 to 80% in like 20 minutes, which is insane. The unfortunate thing is that we don't have any of those chargers in South Africa. At the moment, the fastest charge we have is 60 kilowatts, which is probably going to get you to from 0 to 80% in just over an hour or so. What other questions might you have if it's your first electric car or you're looking at buying an electric car? Load shedding. If you're one of those people who says, I want to buy an electric car but load shedding, that's a very silly thing to say. Load shedding has almost zero effect on electric cars. Most people charge it at work or at home. 2 hours or 2.5 hours or even 4 hours doesn't really make a difference to your charging cycle overnight. So in terms of stations, we've got around about 300 charging stations around the country. And since electric cars went on sale in South Africa, we've only sold around about 600 cars. So in terms of charging infrastructure, you've got 2 cars per charging station, which is actually one of the best ratios in the world. It just happens that we've sold so few electric cars because they cost so much. And the interior, this sort of frameless instrument cluster is really clear. It's great. And you can specify what you want in each individual dial. So you can have your map on display that side, speed on this side, trip data, G-forces, whatever you want. You can mix and match where you want them, which is really cool. And it's super crystal clear. It's one of the best digital screens I've probably ever used. Then you've got your 2 screens here, which do all your media, phones, navigations, all of that sort of stuff. You press the settings here and they come up here and you can change all of it. It's very standard infotainment setup, but very, very nice. It's a step away from Porsche's button fest like you get in a Cayenne or a Panamera or something like that, which has tons and tons of buttons everywhere. It's all very clean and very, very easy. So here we are at a charging station in the middle of a wine farm, as you do if you're a Porsche owner. We got here, we started the day with 400 k's of range, which was basically a full tank of electricity. We've done 220 k's and about 4.5 hours of driving and pretty much out of range, about 70 k's left when we got to the charge point. Since I've plugged it in, it's going at about 1.4 kilometers per minute of charge, which is actually okay. So hopefully once we're done with the coffee, we'll have somewhere around 70 k's of range to get back home, and then we can charge it overnight. Easy. Right, obviously with batteries underneath, there's no engine underneath the bonnet. Even with a Porsche there isn't normally, so you do get a frunk. So brother, right about now. So we'll just see what big it is. We have a standard Cars.co.za cooler box to test it. And that goes perfectly in there. Does the boot close? There we go. Boot scene done. Right, so whilst I was doing a bit of research on the Porsche Taycan, I thought I'd have a look at how much it costs in other countries. US for starters, the equivalent of R1 million. The UK, 1.3 million rand. South Africa, 2.26 million rand as of June 2021. So why should you buy the Taycan over, say, a normal Porsche 4ES Panamera hybrid thingy that just actually costs the same as this? Well, saying you've got an electric car, that's probably about it. I mean, you are one of the first to own an electric car in South Africa. It is a very cool car, but at this price, it's just not enough car. You're getting more out of a Panamera 4ES hybrid. It's faster, it handles probably just as well. The ride on this is excellent though, but not markedly better than a Panamera 4ES hybrid. Currently, pricing on electric cars is just too expensive. And until they come down, that's pretty much how it's going to be.
Thanks very much for watching. If you've just watched this video but you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, you absolutely should do that immediately right now. Click the subscribe button. It's a good idea for a bunch of reasons which I actually don't have really a lot of time to go into, but it's good. It's a good idea. Excellent. Thanks for watching. I said that already.